We're doing something different today. We're on the road. We're doing the Pittsburgh Garden Trail Challenge. We're going to attempt to see 7 gardens in one day. Some of them you'll recognize. Others are hidden treasures. Do you think we can do it? Let's go. Now our first stop is a very unique garden. Now you're not going to go see all 7 in one day. It'd probably take you a whole season to do it. We're just doing it for fun. But when you see this garden built in the shadow of this old steel mill, I think you're going to love it. Well, this is one of the most unique and wonderful gardens we're going to visit today. Tell me why it is so much different.
Yeah, this isn't a planned garden. You know, this is what nature has done. You know, this garden was founded more on a principle of how do you deal with an industrial site that has become overrun, that nature's come back into and it is reestablishing itself. So how do you apply some sense of order to this, some sense of discovery to it? And what we have found is that it's become this incubator space of what happens when work goes away, nature comes back, and how nature reacts with man's built environment.
Well, who would have thought 100 years ago that we would be sitting here listening to the birds? One of the surprises of being in this garden is the serenity. How many yards away from what was a working steel mill? Right.
There's nothing better than being here early in the morning. You know, the bugs are jumping, deer are running through the field, and it's just absolutely beautiful to be sitting here. And it's almost impossible to believe that 40 years ago, this was an all-sensory overload.
Yeah.
That, you know, nothing lived here, nothing grew here. It was a very, very tough environment. You know, all of this is just great testament to the fact that nature is a very, very strong force and will come back if given half a chance.
Our second stop is at the Frick Pittsburgh Museums and Gardens, and you probably know about this beautiful greenhouse that's a replica of the original, but did you know there are 6 acres of gardens here? Let me show you. There are roses, there are perennials, bulbs, and this time of the year, oh, that is fantastic. And the plantings actually have a connection to the artwork inside. Check out these trails too. It's so nice to explore these gardens and to sit out here. And this is a garden bench. That is a classic. We've got daylilies about to bloom. The peonies are about to open. Now, before we go to our next stop, I'm going to go inside and check out some art. We will see you at the zoo. So we're at a completely different type of garden for our third stop at the Pittsburgh Zoo and PPG Aquarium with curator of horticulture, Frank Beasy. Thank you for having us, sir.
Pleasure to have you here.
A lot of times people don't think of the zoo and plants and gardens, but I know this is awesome plantings here. Talk about why the zoo has these plantings.
Well, it is true. People think the zoo, they think animals, but animals are deeply intertwined with their habitat, and what we try and show here is how important those wild spaces, those wild habitats are to the health and well-being of the animals that we have here on display.
We know the importance of the plants for the animals. Tell me what you want visitors to get out of their time seeing the plants.
Well, I think it's important for people to recognize that you cannot have tigers, lions, and bears without some place for the tigers, lions, and bears to live. And so the biggest part of our message here is that wild spaces are in fact important, and they are certainly worth keeping, and they're certainly worth protecting, and that's what we try, and that's our key message.
So for our fourth stop, we have not had our lunch. We are on time, so we're hangry, okay? So
yes.
don't mess with us. We're at Chatham University, again, a place that I know as a great, beautiful arboretum, but not everybody knows. 60 acres you take care of with your team?
Yes.
What do you hope that people get when they come through here and see all these beautiful trees and gardens?
I hope they can see that native plants as well as introduced species have a place if they are planted in the right area.
Like these redbuds?
Like these redbuds. All of the different species and wildlife that is still in the city limits is on this campus.
What's the best way for people to see the arboretum, to see the garden?
So we actually have a passive tour that you're able to take There is a map that is online as well as areas of campus where you can pick it up. We also have tree ID identification markers along that tour, so you can use the QR code to find out the features of the tree, as well as the savings that that tree may provide for your home. I work in the city, but you would never know that the city is on the other side of it. I have over 120 species of trees that I couldn't see in the city by being at one location, as well as a lot of history of the city of Pittsburgh is on this campus.
Well, show us around.
All right, come follow me.
One last thing, Lily of the Valley, right in the back of her hair. That's a real gardener for you folks. That's awesome. This might be the smallest garden on the tour, but it also might be the most special garden. Tell me what this garden is.
This is the Biblical Botanical Garden. So the entire garden is pretty unique. It's actually shaped in the shape of the Holy Land.
And the plants that will be planted in here, I know we're a little early for you, but what are the plants that will go in here? They're all from the Bible?
Half of them are from the Bible. So we have our plants broken down into two categories. Plants that are in the Bible, so things that are specifically named, or plants that have a biblical name, so things like Joseph's coat, croton, or Jacob's ladder.
And what do you hope that visitors, when they do the Pittsburgh Garden Trail, get out of their visit when they come here?
Really, just to find a beautiful, peaceful, and contemplative place. The founders of the garden really just wanted a place where anyone, regardless of religion, could come and really experience beauty and serenity.
This year's theme is going to be
Abraham and the shepherds search for grains and grasses.
Tell me a little bit about it.
So we're going to be doing a lot with grains and grasses. So we're going to be doing things with bread. We're going to have some bread baking workshops. We're going to hopefully have some beer events. We're trying to get those going.
I'm in.
Yeah. And we have a wonderful selection of heirloom grains that we're already starting growing and will hopefully be transferring outside in the next week.
And they're growing in your office?
They are. They're growing in my office. I have turned my entire office into its own little nursery, and luckily my office mate does not have a problem with it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, you all know where we are now, right? Come on, 2 more left. Most people know Phipps for their seasonal flower displays, but in a place like the tropical forest here, there's some other unique things happening here.
Yeah, our Tropical Forest Conservatory rotates every 3 years to feature a different ecoregion of the world. And we are the only botanic garden in the country that features these large rotating exhibits.
And I love this exhibit. I love all the exhibits, but this one about Cuba, you went to Cuba, and tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
Yeah, that's part of the research process. It's about 2.5 years in the making. And I traveled to Cuba in 2016 as part of that process. Spent about 3 weeks traveling all over the country just to really get a broad view of the landscapes there.
And the one thing that I love up there is when you come into the show, there's a blue Chevy up there, an old blue Chevy that you can sit in.
Yep, yeah, that's a great representation of Cuba. That's just part of the landscape, part of what you see. And that car was actually locally sourced. We had a local body shop fix it up for us as part of the exhibit.
One thing that people might not know about Phipps is their deep commitment to sustainability.
Absolutely, and that's extremely important in what we do here at Phipps. Connecting people to nature, but also being responsible to nature as well. And we'll see that in our Center for Sustainable Landscapes.
Let's go take a look.
We are actually standing on the roof of the Center for Sustainable Landscapes, which is a zero-net energy and a zero-net water building and environs. And you can see how this green roof is coming up. The Ansonia is coming into bloom. This is a great pollinator garden, and the environs really show off the Pennsylvania native landscapes as well.
And then when it rains, this is actually permeable, right?
This is all permeable. We're also collecting rainwater in underground storage tanks as well as in our lagoon. Helps us all to be zero net water.
Well, Jordan, thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug.
Appreciate it.
You made it!
Oh, man.
What a day,
It
huh?
was a great day, but nobody should try and do all 7 of these gardens in one day. But it was fun. We're
Good.
finally here at the Pittsburgh Botanic Garden. And first tell us about this amazing garden.
Well, Pittsburgh Botanic Garden is 60-acre garden. At least 60 acres are open to the public at this point. We do operate in at least 460 acres of a nice combination of woodland areas and formal gardens that are being developed. We've been open 3 years, April 1st.
And it's as you can see, spectacular and just the start. But
That's
you're
right.
also the spokesman for the Pittsburgh Garden Trail, the trail that we just did and had so much fun. Tell us about the Pittsburgh Garden Trail.
And it's a great initiative that the 7 public gardens here in Pittsburgh came together to promote ourselves collectively, but basically to share with our community and those who come to visit what great assets in the horticulture world that we have here.
The next time I do this, I'm coming to one garden and I'm spending the time at just the one garden, enjoying the flowers and enjoying everything else.
Good.
What do you hope that people get out of exploring the Pittsburgh Garden Trail?
Well, just as we have the underlying message here at Pittsburgh Botanic Garden, all of our gardens have that same important message of getting the world of plants into everybody's lives. So connecting people with plants in whatever manner that might be. So if it's through food, it's through their cotton clothing, or the joy of seeing plants and beauty and gardening themselves. It's important.
We've seen a lot of gardens today, but I'm not leaving without going back and looking at those dogwoods.
That's
Come
right.
on.
They're
Let's go
gorgeous.
look.